Hey everyone, this time on Tim Talks Audio, we're taking a look at the Austrian Audio OC16 microphone. Hi, if it's your first time here, my name is Tim. I'm a recording and mix engineer, and I just want to make things easier for you. What I'm making easier for you is letting you hear how the Austrian Audio OC16 sounds. I recently had an opportunity to work at Hellhound Recording Studio, and Austrian Audio was super awesome and sent over a pair of OC16s that we could use in our recording session that day. It was great to have the opportunity to work with the OC16s. So first and foremost, thank you to Austrian Audio for sending those over for this exact video. Now I'm going to be showing you a number of different things, and we're going to cut to the studio where I'm going to show you how I set up the drums, how we set up the guitars, how we set up the vocals, and giving you examples of all of those things and how I use them in the production. So let's jump to Hellhound Studios. I'll see you shortly. So we're going to be using some of the Austrian Audio OC16s to do our stereo room, and then I have a far room in a different room as well. So thank you to Austrian Audio. This is going to be awesome. We're going to use it a bunch of different times today. First, stereo rooms. So of course, the first thing you have to do is you've got to get the mic out of the package. I mean, that's what we're doing here. So you can see it comes in this nice soft but firm hard shell case, and everything is packed inside of cell foam. On the front of the OC16, you can see the roll-off switches just above the logo underneath the grill. There they are, right there. So, you know, it's out of focus. We're going real fast. Using the included shock mount, just kind of locking it in from the bottom, throwing in the little adapter or taking out the adapter to go onto the mic stand. Here we are setting up the stereo rooms. You can see I'm going with an XY, and I have them purposely facing away from the drums. This is to make sure that we're not getting direct sounds in, and I just want room sounds. Now I'm just making sure that things are lining up. I want a perfect X. I want to make sure that they're not touching, nothing's going to rattle.
Away.
Okay. I'm not worried about any kind of cohesion or anything. These mics are going to be just fine because they are right next to each other, so they're going to be in phase. Of course, attach your cables, make sure everything is connected to your system.
And then here's some really cool stuff as well. We have the Austrian Audio OC16s. Over here, they are our stereo room facing the opposite wall from our drums. Our drums are back there. And then in another room, in here, we have an AKG 414 on a stand right here facing away and with the door closed, giving us an even deeper, further room.
Okay, so here we are inside of our session. Let's very quickly check out our stereo rooms. I'm going to turn off all of my processing so you guys can hear a completely raw version of the Austrian Audio OC16 in our stereo room configuration. Here's how it sounds. Cool, sounds like rooms. Here's all of the drums, and I'm going to turn all of the processing off on everything so you can just hear raw everything. And like I said, that's with everything off. Let's turn all of my processing back on right now. And here's where we are. Again, let's just go only the rooms. Something that's also fun with our room mics is honestly just compressing the heck out of them. And I'm going to go with the classic CLA 76. Let's just go crazy with our stereo rooms. So you can do that to help stretch the length of the in-between bits between all the cymbal crashes. Really, we want to bring out some of the sustain of the room. So you compress the heck out of it, fastest attack, fastest release. And I just kind of brought the output down so I could A/B it for you guys and not kill your ears. Let's take a listen to all of our drums, and I will mute all of our rooms as they are, and then I'll drop them back in so you can hear what the stereo rooms are doing. We're just going to bring the stereos back in, not the mono. So again, really helps stretching out everything in between.
All right, we've moved on to guitars. We just finished bass. Here's what our setup is looking like so far.
So for all of our guitars for a recording session, we went with a Friedman style setup. You can see there is only one 57 setup right now. That's because at this point I didn't decide to go to Friedman until after I heard the single 57 with the OC16. I just felt like I needed a little bit more. That's why we went with the Friedman style setup, and I added the extra mic. But you can already see I'm clearly setting up the OC16 maybe 2 to 3 feet away from the cab. This is on purpose. I want that distance. I want that depth. I want a bit of that room sound so that we create the natural room distance and sound for our guitars. And now here's just a fast forward of me adding in the second 57, and we're going to go over the mic setup right now. Let's do that.
All right, so we've got a Diamond Nitro X as our head, and instead of using the orange cab, which sounded awesome, we actually went with the Marshall 1960 vintage slant cab, and I'm going with two 57s in a Friedman style setup, and then we have the Austrian Audio OC16 giving us some space, a little bit of room, a little bit of depth. We have that going on. So that's what we have. That's our setup for guitar. We also have a DI because you always need a DI for editing and whatever else you need. So let's get to making some sounds.
So we just saw how the guitars were set up. Now let's take a listen to how they sound. This track right here, and let's just give it a different color so we can tell. This is our OC16. But as you just saw, I had a Friedman style setup for my main mics. And to create a little depth and distance and fullness, I have the OC16 about, 3 feet off of the cab. So I'm going to start with the OC16 actually off. You'll hear just the 57s blended together with all of my processing. And then we will drop the OC16 in, and then we'll just solo just the OC16. And then I had the same setup on our other sets of guitars. Here we go with those ones. Once again, here, let's just change the color. We can tell that's our OC16. Right at the end there, I flipped the phase to just show you that I am in phase. It's how they're blending with the 57s. It adds extra frequencies, it adds extra top end, it adds intelligibility. So the OC16, even further out, is adding. Let's listen to our guitars with all of their processing, and all I'm going to do, I have both of my OC16s highlighted. I'm just going to take them out and then bring them back in, and you'll hear what they're adding to our overall guitar signal. So you can see it is adding weight, it's adding some intelligibility, and it's blending well with our 57s. All right, we've already talked about our drums, our bass, and our guitars. We didn't use the OC16 on the bass, and that's totally fine. But here is a little sample of the song in the mix process. I'm finalizing some things, and I'm reviewing with the band, but here is everything, and I'm even going to go in and solo just the OC16s with all of my processing. Here it is. So you can hear those OC16s. Not only are they adding length, but they're adding depth and they're adding fullness. So they're really adding and helping out everything else that's going on. We can get away with just the few mics that we had, but those OC16s are really adding things in.
All right, drums done, bass done, 2 sets of guitars done. We still have keys to do, but we're going to jump over to vocals and get those going. Check this out.
A mic shootout is a great option when you're not sure what's going to sound best, so you try a couple of different options.
This is our vocalist for Raising Arizona, and here's our setup. We're going to do a little bit of a shootout. We have the Austrian Audio OC16, and this is going into the Harrison mix strip.
Okay, now we're in the session where I have the A-B of the OC16 microphone with the other microphone that we went for our vocals. Let me scroll over to that real fast. This is just a tiny bit of processing on this lead vocal. I have some compression going on and a little bit of L2, some limiting, just to kind of like put it in, kind of blend it in with everything. This is not my mix session. This is the tracking session, so you guys can hear the OC16 on Sarah, our vocalist. So let's go ahead and just solo it out. I'm going to go to the chorus, and here it is. I'll actually take my processing off. Let's put this to 0, and I've got everything off. So we're going to start completely raw with the OC16, and then we'll start dropping some things in. Like I said, this isn't the mix version of the song, but you'll hear the raw OC16.
I haven't been myself. I'm getting lost in my hell. I hope that you wish me well, 'cause I haven't been myself.
And now I'm just going to go in and throw everything that I had on. Just, again, some compression, some limiting, a little bit more compression just with the fat channel in Studio One, and a little reverb just for flavor.
I haven't been myself. I'm getting lost in my hell. I hope that you wish me well, 'cause I haven't been myself.
Obviously way louder because I'm using the gain stages of the compression and limiting to bring it up and out, but I'll volume match these for you guys so that it's not just this complete jump.
I haven't been myself. I'm getting lost in my hell. I hope that you wish me well, 'cause I haven't been myself.
Now, unfortunately for this vocalist, the OC16 was not the winner, but it doesn't mean that it's not a great microphone for tracking vocals. It's just that in this instance, it wasn't the right mic for the vocalist that we had, and that's fine. You can always just go to a different microphone if you have that available to you. If not, use what you have to its fullest and just make your adjustments later. Once again, a huge thank you to Austrian Audio for sending over a pair of the OC16s. They really helped the recording process. As you saw, we used them in a lot of different situations just through this one band and their one song. But we now have them at the studio, and they're going to get a lot of use. I'm curious, though, what did you think of the sounds of the OC16? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll have active communications with the guys over at Austrian, and I'll let them know your feedback as well. In the meantime, happy mixing, happy recording, and see you next time. Take care.